For all the people who are struggling because of their desires or struggling because of not being able to fulfill those desires, and that dissatisfaction caused because of not being able to fulfill those desires, and because of that they want to dissolve the desire itself, this video is for you. Because I haven't seen a lot of content or information around how to dissolve a desire or detach yourself from that desire while your reasons for being attracted to that desires are very valid. So we start with what are desires. Desires are our brain's assumption that something in the future will fix the current situation. Something in the future will be so fulfilling that it will make you feel like a complete person. It will improve your current state. It will improve your current situation. So in order to feel complete and fulfilled, we think that chasing our desire, chasing an XYZ thing is going to be the solution. And whenever we talk about chasing something, we have to talk about dopamine. Dopamine is the chemical, the neurotransmitter which is responsible for motivating you to achieve something. But the thing with dopamine is that it motivates you, but it only motivates you. So it perpetually wants you to run behind something and never achieve that thing. Because if you achieve that thing, dopamine levels come down. The function of dopamine is to keep you running behind something, not attain that thing. So what we understand from this is that desire is something that we create in our heads, which we think is the solution to our current problem, to our current situation. Now, according to Advait Vedanta also, our desires arise because of an illusion. This is an illusion that you are incomplete, you need something to complete you. So maybe a luxury car, maybe more money, maybe a perfect partner is going to make you feel complete, is going to make you feel happier, is going to make you feel absolutely content and complete in life. So what we understand from this is that perceived deficiency is what causes or gives rise to a desire. When we don't have something is only when we want it. If we already have something, we don't have the desire to achieve that thing. So if you are fully hydrated, you don't feel the need to have water. I do. When you are fully secure in a situation, you don't feel the need to seek validation. So this is how it works. You only want something, you only have the desire or craving for something when you don't have it already. So while everybody has desires, every human being has a desire, there are different domains, different aspects in life where we tend to have more desire related to a certain area, and it's different for everybody, it's different for everyone. Some people chase career, some people have high desires for a partnership, marriage. How do we see all of that in our chart, in our birth chart? Is firstly through the planet Rahu, which I don't even have to mention. The planet which governs all sorts of illusions, all sorts of desires, and the chemical dopamine in itself. And the other thing is retrograde planets. Okay, retrograde planets have high cheshta bal, which means high desire in themselves to fulfill something related to the house that planet is placed in, retrograde planet is placed in. So retrograde planets and Rahu, these two things will show you what you actually crave in life, what you really desire in this life. Not everybody is fortunate enough to fulfill those desires, I'll be honest. After a lot of consultations, after observing a lot of people carefully over many years, I have come to the conclusion that no matter how well placed your Jupiter is, your 9th lord is, or your 9th house is, if you are not meant to experience the luxuries related to that desire, then you will not experience it. What do you do in such situations? How do you end the desire completely? So let's start discussing how to actually deal with those desires. So firstly, the first step is to not suppress that desire, because the more you suppress something, the more it demands your attention, the more it grabs your attention. So whenever you want to deal with something, you want to detach yourself from something psychologically, you don't just suppress that desire, that emotion, that feeling. You have to deal with it. How you deal with it? You first acknowledge it. You acknowledge it and then you observe it, what it does to you, Why do you have that desire? What will fulfilling that desire, achieving that thing do in your life? How will that improve? So all this introspection is needed. That is the first step. Anything but suppression. Main goal should not be to reject that desire, because the main goal should be to detach from the desire, to dissolve that desire, because desire is something which does not die with our body. As long as we are living, the desire lives, but even after we die, the desire still stays, because it is in our consciousness, and consciousness never dies. Dismissing it and rejecting it is the worst thing you can do to yourself and to your birth, and also to your soul. So think about that desire and think about whether you can live without it. And if you can, then do. If you can live without something, then you must. And then you have to take conscious efforts to dissolve that desire, which needs a lot of self-awareness. It needs a lot of consciousness as well as spirituality. With the help of these three things, it is achievable, but it is pretty difficult, and it requires a lot of hard work on a soul level. So acknowledging the desire, dealing with it by yourself, dissolving it by yourself is not easy, and it requires a whole different lifestyle which you have to follow if you have to do all this work on your own, on yourself. The other thing is to run behind that desire. Just run behind it, chase it as much as you can, experience it as much as you can, because when you get what you always wanted, you would no longer want that thing. So this is a very good way to fulfill your desires. Now let's say you want a certain job. It doesn't necessarily mean that you will get that job, but you can keep on running behind it. You can keep on chasing it until your soul is tired, wrung out, or satisfied, in case you get that job. And once you get it, you would no longer want it. Or in the second scenario, the continuous dissatisfaction that you felt when you were chasing that desire will cause you to completely detach yourself from the desire. The desire will dissolve by itself. You would no longer feel any attraction towards that thing, because if negative emotions are attached to a certain experience, then it works like a negative reinforcement in your brain. You no longer want that thing. You get conditioned to feel averse by that thing, so the desire dies in by itself. You no longer need that thing. But in the different scenario where you actually did get that job, where you could get what you always wanted, in that scenario also you would no longer want that thing, because once you get something, you don't want it anymore. And that's how dopamine works. If I have to give you a classic example of this, we all have a friend who is absolutely obsessed about someone in their life. They are absolutely smitten by somebody, and they want to have that person. They want to be with that person, and they spend hours and hours and days and months or maybe years thinking about being with that person, and they just create this whole scenario where they are married to that person. I also had a friend like that, and I saw him completely mesmerized by a girl. To our surprise, the girl after a certain point also started showing interest in him, and when she started to reciprocate, they started to hit it off really well. They were it felt like they are made for each other. It felt like his desire was stemming from something, some miraculous energy in the universe that made them both seem like they're perfect for each other. But soon after 2 to 3 weeks, that friend of mine, he lost interest in that girl, because now he had her, and the chase was over, and the chase was more rewarding for him than the reward itself. So since the chase was over, he started to lose interest in her, and he started to avoid her, and he started to avoid most of his interactions with her. So this is how dopamine works. This is how desires also work. So you can use this mechanism in your favor if you are looking to detach yourself from a desire which might not give you the results that you think you want. Now I know I've said that you can do it by yourself, but it is not at all easy. Spiritually, even neuroscientifically, it is not easy, but I have made a list of certain practices that you can follow and it will help you a lot if you are dealing with a desire which you cannot fulfill. So the first step is to expose the reward illusion. So you have to think, how many times has this desire promised a lasting satisfaction, and how many times has it actually delivered satisfaction. So the more you introspect on this, the more you, and the more accurately you imagine the scenario, the more accurately you remember the reward, the less your craving will get. Now the second step, I think one of the most crucial parts of conditioning or reconditioning your brain is visualization. So in this case, you have to visualize getting that thing that you want. So let's say you get that promotion, you have to imagine a scenario where you are visualizing beyond that reward. So if you get that promotion, you have to visualize a life 1 month later, 1 month after that promotion, how your life will be. That is what you visualize. Let's say you are thinking about marriage, you desperately want to marry someone or anyone, and so you don't visualize marrying them, you visualize 6 months down the line, 6 months after you marry that person, how your life would be. So what this does is this weakens that this actually deals with and weakens that fantasy that you created in your head around this narration that this thing is going to complete me. That expectation will go down, and once that expectation comes down, your brain will return to the baseline level of happiness after gains. Happiness after gains. Keep that in mind. Beyond all these psychological ways is the most powerful one, which is also the spiritual one, is that firstly you remove all sorts of cues that can trigger that desire. Okay, so let's say a certain song reminds you of a time which you can no longer experience. So removing that trigger, which means not exposing yourself to that song, hearing that song. Same goes for advertisements. Let's say you really wanted something, you wanted PlayStation 5 and you can't afford it, you can't have it, your parents don't want you to have it. Stop looking at, in this scenario you will stop looking at the advertisements related to that gadget. You will stop looking at the videos or the stories related to that gadget which people want to express in online platforms or anywhere. Let's say you always dreamt of a love story which you cannot have in this life, which you don't want to experience anymore, but you have that little desire left in yourself which you absolutely want to get rid of. In that case, stop reading those, you will stop reading those books, that literature around those stories that can trigger that. You don't want any sort of stimulation, you detach yourself from that stimuli completely. So this helps a lot. So it's a whole different lifestyle you have to follow once you start to remove those cues. And it's not easy, the way we live our lives. We cannot really remove those cues on a day-to-day level, on a day-to-day basis. That is why when people take sannyas, it's a whole different lifestyle. They change their clothes also. It's on that level. Completely change your lifestyle. You remove all sorts of cues that can trigger any emotion or any desire which is no longer of any use to you, you don't feel any attraction towards that desire. So to sustain that, people completely change their lifestyle, even if there is a said emotional state which you are trying to get rid of. In this case particularly, you have to be very careful about what you surround yourself with and your environment. That is why monks live a very different life. It's always a monk who sold his Ferrari, not a monk who bought his Ferrari. And the last step would be to move towards a desire which can end all the other desires, which is the desire for liberation. Once you move towards that desire, you would no longer want to attain any other material thing or even a state of mind for that matter. So with that, I hope this video helped you. In the recent few consultations, I could sense the agony some people were going through because of their dissatisfaction from not being able to have something. Most of the time it's a person, but sometimes it's a job, sometimes it's having a child. What do you do in these situations? You can't stop living. you deal with that desire. So this video was about that, and I hope this helped you. All of these things that I've mentioned in the video, I try it on myself first and then I come and make the video. This is something you all have to keep in mind in all of my videos. I don't just come and just say any random thing and then I expect everybody to follow it. No, I do it on myself. I am my guinea pig, and I experiment experiment it all on myself first, and then I make a video of it. In this particular scenario, it's not easy to practice all of these things, but I have been doing it for a while and these seem to work. So yeah, I hope you could learn something from this video, and I hope this can contribute to your spiritual journey also. Thanks for watching. I'll see you guys in the next video.